Last month, I lost my job. And at first, I wasn't devastated because I kind of saw it coming. And I've always been good with my money, so I had savings set aside to keep us afloat. But as the days went by, I started feeling like a complete failure. I still haven't found another job yet. My business isn't growing. My consulting firm hasn't picked up at all. And YouTube is just growing painfully slow. My community is growing, but just barely. Everything just feels stuck right now, like nothing's moving forward. And no matter how much I try, the progress is at a snail crawl. And it's driving me crazy. And on top of that, I got 2 young kids to feed and raise, and it felt like I slammed into a wall. So I turned into video games and I just started playing games just to take my mind off of everything. And honestly, that only made me feel worse. Because deep down, I know that's not the answer. I'm not sure when it all crept up on me because all of a sudden weeks had gone by and I still hadn't made real progress on anything. I wasn't creating new content, I wasn't building my business anymore, and the scariest part was I was oddly okay with that, which is not like me at all. I do care about being better. I care about being a good dad and building a future, but my actions just said otherwise because I was spending hours doom scrolling on YouTube or playing video games. And it was this weird, huge disconnect between the goals in my head and the choices I was actually making. I'm usually the one anxious about the future, wondering if I'm doing enough for my kids. And while that's not the best mindset to live in, at least it shows that I really care. But this time it felt a bit different. I didn't see any light at the end of the tunnel, and I wasn't even looking for it. It felt like I had regressed so far back that all the work I had done to become the father and man I wanted to be just didn't matter anymore. It's one thing to compare yourself to others, but it's a whole other thing to compare yourself to who you used to be and to think to yourself, what the hell happened to me? Because not that long ago, I felt like I was in a better place and ideally things should have gotten better, but that just wasn't the case for me. I think by now, we've all heard the saying, growth is not linear. And I know that's true, but that doesn't make it any easier to live through. I preach about discipline and systems, but that doesn't mean I always follow through on it. I am a human after all. And I know I should limit distractions. I know I should focus on the work that matters, but that doesn't mean it feels easy. When I'm sitting there, tired, kids are finally in bed, and the urge to check out on YouTube or play video games is right in front of me. So yeah, I know the facts. I know setbacks are normal, but no matter how much my brain knows it, my feelings take so much longer to catch up. 2025 so far has been rough for me. At the middle of the year, I got laid off, and while I had money saved up, the reality of it still hit me. Then at the top of that, my business hasn't taken off yet. My consulting firm has barely moved. YouTube, once again, is just growing so slow. And the community I'm building is moving even slower. It's like everywhere I look, progress is at a crawl. And eventually it all caught up with me. I had one of those breakdown moments where I just felt like everything I've worked for didn't matter anymore. And that last few weeks, I was just stuck in this cycle of doubt. And honestly, I didn't feel like myself anymore. Until just recently. Even now, I'm still recovering from it. It was just a very strange stretch of time, and so many things happened back to back that I couldn't really process it all. First, losing my job, then watching my business fall, then realizing my consulting firm wasn't picking up at all. It felt like hit after hit, and every time I thought, okay, this is bad, but it will get better, something else piled on. And it wasn't just work stuff, it was the weight of being a single dad too. Making sure the kids were okay, school, dinner, bedtime, and just repeat, all while trying to carry the pressure of building something bigger for us. I was getting exhausted, and no matter how much I told myself to push through, I couldn't shake the feeling that my life was slipping further away. From the one I had worked so hard to build, I was grieving the loss of stability, and at the same time, grieving the version of me who always felt in control. I kept telling myself it was just a season, that it would pass, but then it dragged on longer than I expected. And before I could even catch my breath, I find myself slipping deeper into the rut. I started pulling back from people, stopped reaching out to friends, stopped updating the few people who asked how I was doing. And instead, I just kept my head down, took care of the kids, and I tried to get through the days. But inside, I was carrying this constant weight that I couldn't explain to anyone. And the hardest part was I wasn't even sure what I wanted. I didn't want to affect anyone else with my negativity. I hate that. So I just stayed quiet and I told myself to write it out. And I remember thinking to myself, this isn't who I am. I've always been the one to push forward, to stay positive, to be optimistic, to find some kind of solution. But during that time, I couldn't find the bright side of anything. And I hated that about myself. I didn't want to be around happy people because it made me feel worse. And I didn't want to bring my sadness to them either. So I isolated myself even more. And it only made things heavier. What confused me most was looking at my life on paper. I still had so many good things. 2 amazing kids, a roof over my head, a supportive family, and tons of opportunities right in front of me. And yet, why the heck do I still feel completely stuck? Like no matter what I had, I couldn't feel grateful for it, even though I practice gratitude daily. And that disconnect ate me alive inside. So I became numb. Nothing made me super happy. Nothing made me super sad. I was just floating through the days, trying to make it to the end of each one. Even taking care of the kids, it started to feel so automatic because I've been doing it for so long. And luckily, that's a good thing. At least their routines never stopped. But for me, everything else felt very empty. The things I used to love, like creating videos or building my community, I just didn't feel excited doing it anymore. Just the thought of setting up the camera and messing with the lighting and messing with the sound system, it already annoyed me just trying to think about that and setting it up. I get frustrated even before hitting record, and I hated doing it when I was such in a bad mood. I knew it had to be done for the sake of the brand, for the sake of growing the channel, but in that moment, I just felt like it was another chore. So most of the time, I would ignore it completely. And on top of that, the job I did have before wasn't leading me anywhere close to the dreams I wanted in life. So every day felt like I was working hard, but building nothing. And that sense of going nowhere was just draining everything out of me. By the end of that stretch, I felt like I was absolutely worse, mentally, physically, and emotionally. I was far from the father and man I wanted to be. And I caught myself asking why. Why is this happening? I've invested so much time and money into therapy, into personal growth, into learning and education, into building habits and systems. I've worked hard to be better for my kids. And yet, instead of moving forward, it felt like I was losing more and more. Like every effort I made came back empty. And that disconnect crushed me because in the past, I would see some kind of payoff whenever I did the right things. But this time the results didn't show up. And it made me question everything. Am I on the right path? Am I doing the right work? Or am I wasting all of this energy and just running in circles? I think what made it worse was how close together everything happened. Once again, losing a job, realizing the business wasn't growing, watching consulting firms just stall out, all of it stacked after the other with barely any space in between. If those things had been spread out, I probably could have handled them much better. But because they hit so close together, it felt like I was being buried. I told myself, setback happens, but when it's one on top of another, it doesn't feel like a setback. It feels like it's a free fall, and I can't catch my footing. I started questioning everything, wondering if I was even chasing the right things, wondering if all of this effort was ever going to pay off. And deep down, I started asking myself the hard question, am I really building the life I want? Or am I just stuck repeating the same cycle? What made me stop and really think was how easily I was ready to give up on my own dreams. In those low moments, I fell into the trap of just trying to do everything, watching other successful people, and then trying to copy them as if their path could somehow fix my life. And that did scare me because I know better. But when you're exhausted and vulnerable, almost anything feels better where you are. So when someone says, maybe you should try this, I catch myself thinking, maybe that is what I should do. Even if deep down I know it wasn't really me. And that was the wake-up call. If I kept living like that, I'd end up chasing someone else's goals and not my own. I gotta get out of this rat race. And the thought of that hit me harder than the failures ever did. So I had to step back and remind myself to build something for me. Not just chase what looked good on the outside, because when everything else falls apart, the only thing that keeps you solid is the work you actually love. the things you're proud of, the things you know is yours. For me, that means creating, building, and providing, even when progress feels slow, and even when the results don't show up right away. Because if I don't have that, I'm way too easily swayed, or I lose sight of who I am. So losing my job and deciding to double down on what mattered wasn't just about career, it was about finding myself again. And for the first time in a long time, I felt a little hope for the future. Looking back now, I realized part of the problem was how I measured my year. I kept tallying things up, like wins and losses. Lost a job, that's a loss. Business not growing, another loss. Community growing slow, another loss again. But I never stopped to see the bigger picture. My foundation was still strong. I had 2 amazing kids, a roof over my head, friends and family who supported me, and the chance to create a new path. And in the moment, I didn't see any of that as win. I only saw what I was missing, and that mindset blinded me from appreciating what I already had and what I built over the years. A lot can go wrong in a year, but just as much can turn around in that same year. So please don't lose hope. Things do get better. If you told me a year ago that I'd be in a better place today, I probably wouldn't have believed you. Back then, I thought, this is my life now, and I was stuck with it. But here I am. I'm still building, I'm still standing, and slowly moving forward ahead. So if you're in that place right now, just know you are not alone, and give yourself the time to climb back out, because you will. And if you find any value in this, a simple like on this video goes a long way. Thank you for watching.